right, folks, my name's Dan. I'm the guy who talks too much here tonight. Can y'all hear me all right back here?
Yeah.
All right. Going to be showing you different places that is kind of haunted, and we're going to start right away. Anybody been on this tour before? Well, good. I can bore a whole new bunch of people. We're going to be heading straight over to the courthouse for the first part of this. And after we're done, after the cemetery, we're going to go back to Lindy's, and I'm going to be showing you some different photos and videos of different ghost hunts here in Hermann. So I'm kind of giving you the basics of it first, and then we'll get into the ghost hunt. Right up here in this block used to be the Bavarian something. I don't remember. Remember the name of it? Bavarian Inn. Well, to be honest, and back in the 1800s, the Bavarian Inn had a different name, and it was a place where young ladies entertained men for a living. It is, yeah, it was a church. There you go. And that place was owned, I don't know if it still is, by the folks who own the Wine Valley Inn. They let me go in there and ghost hunt. We had a pretty interesting time in there. We had a lady ghost. She was in that occupation. She was killed in there, sickness. She died in there, that would be a better term. She was knocking on the walls and slamming doors for us in the next room over. So her spirit was pretty active. On the other side of that, y'all remember Sharp's Corner. There was a elderly gentleman there who was there every day, apparently, and the last tour even told me his name. And he passed away, but his spirit is still seen every now and again by people walking in. They see him plain as day, sitting at the bar where he always sat, and he's still there. Death won't stop a good German drinker. All right, this place here is pretty haunted, and the last time we was here in an evening tour like this, some folks got some really neat photos of a light that we can't explain, and I'll show you that picture when we get back to Lindy's. Take a lot of photographs. One rich man who's now got a statue in the front there is the guy who paid for it all. The jail cells came up from a Navy ship, a Navy destroyer, battleship or something, before World War I. When they scrapped the old ship, they put the brig onto a barge, sailed it up the Mississippi to the Missouri, came here. This was the jail cell. It was right here on the main level. It was a jail cell here from before World War I until sometime around 1982, 83, 85, not exactly sure. But it became unfit for people to live in, so they started taking their prisoners to other counties. Before that, the dispatchers used to have to go check on the prisoners every hour. They got to the point where they refused to, and I was actually a cop here in this county when this happened. They would not leave dispatch because outside their dispatch area, they would hear voices, footsteps, they'd hear people calling their names, but there was nobody in there. They eventually had to hook up a closed-circuit TV monitoring system so they could look at the screen because the dispatchers would not leave the lit dispatch area. Of course, the prisoners got to live with them, but who cares, right? They're prisoners. There's been a couple, 3 suicides in there over the years. There's 2 hangings back here where Troy parked the bus. There was a hanging, a legal execution in the jail cell. They actually have a trap door in there. They threw a noose over it. His name was Rollins, and he was hung in there for the murder of 2 railroad detectives in Bland. He is the most active spirit, the one I've got to talk to the most. So we got all those spirits in here. The sheriff, Randy Esporst, agreed to let me come in here and ghost hunt. I think Mona, anybody here from Hermann knows Mona? If you know Mona, she's going to get her way, and she wanted me to come in and ghost hunt. So we got that. First night we came in here, and I'll show you, they actually have video of parts of this. first night I brought a team in, I brought in a photographer, videographer from Washington. And he wanted to film this. He is scared to death of ghosts, but he had to come here and film this. He was filming away, and we heard his name. Let me reword that. He heard his name called from outside the cell. He asked me and another officer, and I am, by the way, a police officer, and so was the other investigator at the time, and asked, did you hear that? No, we didn't. We kept going. Then we heard it. We was using what's called a Frank's box, which is a device that ghosts can use to say words. And it was doing its little thing up there, and he said he swore he heard his name. Then we heard it say Matt, which was his name. And he's okay, I guess. And I said something effect of, is there somebody here who wants to talk to Matt? And the thing went, ta-da! And I literally got it on video. You'll see it tonight, if the video works. So anyway, I said, yeah, it's one to talk to you, Matt. And then I got the rods. I use dowsing rods a lot. Dowsing rods, for me, is the best way to contact ghosts. Some people in ghost hunting gets orbs, gets full-body apparitions, gets whatever every time they go out. Some people with recorders always get voice activity. Other people get nothing. With me, it's dowsing rods. Always works. So I was out there with the dowsing rods, and I said, is there a spirit here who came here with Matt? And the thing said, Matt, again. And he said, I didn't hear it. Yeah, Matt, it called your name. No, I didn't get it that time. So it did it again. Well, a total of 4 times it said his name. Well, we finally found out, well, the 4th time he said it, he jumped up, ran out of the room. And I got with him and got to talking to the spirit. The house he had just bought a few months prior in Washington, he bought it from a widower. His wife died in there. She had like 6 kids and 7 or 8 grandkids. She loved babies. He had a brand new baby. And he is getting nervous and going, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. My wife's going to get mad. She told me not to do this. She's going to be so afraid. We're going to have to move. He calls his wife, says, honey, there's a ghost with us, and he came here with me, and it lives in our house. And she said, well, that explains a lot. She said she was getting ready for work one day. She had the new baby in a swing that you wind up that plays music. Well, it stopped. And she's like, okay, the baby started fussing, but it'll wait, a few minutes, and then I'll be out there. Well, by the time she got out there, it was wound completely and swinging again. So he was more upset about it than his wife was by far. Kind of.
Meg, did you not just say my name?
What? Did I what?
I heard something come from farther out that sounded like you saying my name. It sounded like it came from the door or the hallway.
Say your first name?
Yeah. And I would have put money on it being you, but I didn't. You're too close.
Okay, Willie, you're doing great. I appreciate it, and I'm just trying to nail this down a little bit. So, buddy, can you tell me, is there a spirit that came here with Matt to communicate with him? Ta-da! Willie, are you still with me? All right. That must be just a random word that popped up for some reason. Is the female that came here with Matt?
Did that just say Matt?
I heard something similar to it, but I
When I
couldn't
shit
say.
my pants, you gotta help me.
No, I don't.
Like, at least get me out of here.
No. Leaving yet.
Matt, I'm sorry. The spirit, I'm Willie, I'm talking to you, brother. The spirit that came here with Matt.
That said Matt.
I didn't hear it that time. Time before, I wouldn't argue with you.
But it answered somehow when I said that. That's too coincidental that it happened twice in a row. I think we've made this clear, but maybe I'm wrong, so let me ask again. Did you meet Matt here?
Was Matt even the right?
Okay, would you point these rods at the person you came here with? You need a break? Come back a second time, I brought in a group out of St. Charles. This time, and I have some video, it doesn't exactly show it, but what you'll see is a guy standing there with a K2 going off and me jump because it slammed the door on me. It's like he leaves.
I'm thinking it's almost like he's talking.
Whoa.
What was that?
The door moved. Look at the
Door
door.
pushed me.
The door moved.
Come on, seriously?
Look at the door. Look at it.
I was standing right in the doorway, and this big, heavy, 200-some-pound door swung in and knocked me into the room. You probably won't hear me curse, but I was. It scared the hell out of me. Brought in a group for the third investigation. A group out of Kansas. We were sitting in the jail cell, and outside, I swear to you, I heard a little girl giggling. And it was so loud, I made everybody stay where they were, and I searched this building from top to bottom, because I'd swear somebody had gotten in there. It was so loud and so human. But it was a little girl giggling. Last tour I did this year, the one I did in April, I think, I found out there was a little girl ghost in the bar right down on the other side of the hill. So I'm thinking now she had come up to play for a while. Then, and you'll see parts of this video, I brought another group in after the cells were ripped out, and there was K2 meters on the floor. The girls I had brought in here, they were paramedics, started singing. Because when they asked what kind of music do you want to hear, they got to 60s country, all the meters went off. So they started singing Johnny Cash until one of them, she didn't know the words. Well, that time she was singing Nancy Sinatra. But she was singing a Johnny Cash tune, and the thing said, silence. Literally, on a ghost meter that speaks, it told her to shut up. And I don't blame them, she wasn't that good. Lovely girl, a lot of fun, not that great a singer.
Yeah.
I hear that train coming, it's rolling down the track. I ain't seen the sunshine.
Whoa, that's a big hit.
I
You
don't
gotta
know
walk, Johnny
when
Cash.
I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. When I hear that train a-rolling, I hang my head and cry. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. Once stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
What was that?
Oh, shit.
Right down where we started, if everybody here is worried about the brakes, you have absolutely nothing to worry about because he ain't got any.
That laugh, Troy.
Here in the last century, that was a doctor's office. This doctor liked animals. He would have people bring their dogs in, didn't want them outside in the heat or outside in the cold. They brought them in there. 2 of them never left. And the lady who owns the place and several other visitors have seen ghost dogs walk across the main room, down the hall, and disappear into a wall. Over and over again. A lot of people have seen these 2 ghost dogs. Okay, go ahead. The White House Hotel, as you can tell, one of the oldest and was built to be the finest hotel this far west at the time. A lot of stuff happened here. There was a lot of deaths. I know we found evidence of at least 2 people who committed suicide by drinking lye. You can imagine how painful that had to be. There was also some suitcases in here at one time. The lady who owned them got off a steamship, put her stuff in her room, walked down towards the river, was never seen again. On top of that, this area is very haunted because of the natural disasters that happen. First off, if you wonder why any place is haunted, look to the river first. The moving water and the limestone that we're all standing on is a big part of why the place is so haunted, because limestone holds energy, and that's what the spirit needs. And moving water creates energy. So that's a lot of the reason. Secondly, this was the first areas that were populated. So here's where you got the first rough and tough kind of guys, Indian attacks, diphtheria, yellow fever, lots of diseases came up the river on ships and would destroy the entire town. A lot of illness here, a lot of people killed. There was also, back in the early 1900s, a train in Gasconade, Missouri, that the bridge gave way, the train went off into the river. A lot of people dead, a lot of people injured. By the way, Gasconade City is incredibly haunted. They put the bodies on the next train, got them down this way and almost to New Haven, and that bridge was out also. So the bodies ended up here for a while, eventually got put on a boat and taken back in. There was a steamship called the Big Hatchie that exploded right out there in the river after it left the port. A lot of people drowned. 65 of them was buried in a mass grave in the cemetery where we're going to be going shortly. And we'll be standing right there by that monument to the folks of the Big Hatchie. Another ship called the Washington, which only had a few people on, but it also exploded and sank out there. One woman was seen, her big, huge dresses they wore back when steamships were popular was gathering water, and she slowly fought, but couldn't survive. She drowned. To kind of put it in perspective, when one of those ships exploded, you ended up with boiling hot water just cooking everything in a nearby zone. So if you didn't boil to death, burn to death, or get parts of your body blown up by shrapnel, you drowned. So it was a really rough way. General Marmaduke and his men, when General Price made the last raid of the Civil War, had a fight through here. People were killed. I mean, that happened. People died accidentally, too. So there's a lot of death right here in this area. This building was, back in the 70s and maybe the early 80s, low-income housing apartments. People who lived here at the time have told stories of black mists going into an electric socket because they were using the walls to travel, I guess, and not coming out like smoke, but going in. Also, a woman carrying a basket of clothes has been seen walking down the stairs, and then she would just disappear. The folks that run it now, they have told me, yes, the place is haunted, but they've never let me investigate. And that's fine, it's their building, I can't complain, not my business. But I have gotten a lot of stories. But there was a young man here, I don't know if he was a runaway or an orphan, but he had no family. They took him in, they let him stay in the basement. He kind of helped stock and do a little work around here for his keep. The building caught on fire, the boy burned to death. And every now and again, people out here at night swear they hear him screaming in there. This is a bed and breakfast. We don't talk much about the ghost, but Mary here has agreed to come out and speak because I know you're tired of listening to me.
Get a little frightened?
That gave me a heart attack.
Mary?
You thought I was a ghost?
Yes, I don't know what you are. Thanks, Mary.
But anyhow, she said it's possessed. The devil's in that cat. Well, I don't know about that. It was a mean little cat, though. But anyhow, they also said that the house was possessed. She said, I'd like to tell you something, but I don't want you to be upset. And I said, you mean all the spirits? And she said, oh, good, you know. She said, there's more spirits in this house than any other house I've ever been in. And she said there's a big, like a huge big dog in here and lots of other dogs and cats. And she said, does your cat act like it's playing with other animals? And I said, yeah. Acts like it's chasing something, up and down the stairs. And she said, well, that's a spirit cat. And she said, most people have them, but they just don't address it's not as interesting as people spirits. And among other things that every one of the psychics has found, Dan found it too when he was here, in the upstairs in the blue room, there's a cold spot, a portal, they said, that many spirits come and go through. And they said that I think Dan told me there might be a loud noise when they come through the portal.
Sometimes.
Well, sitting here at night, especially with no TV on, it sounds like somebody's walking up and down the stairs all the time. And then sometimes it sounds like somebody's bouncing a basketball off the stairs. Well, I thought my cat had fallen, so I walked over, looked at the stairs, because it walked on the railing, and I thought, well, it fell. I'm looking up the stairs, like, well, Kitty, are you dead? And I look behind me, and the cat's looking up the stairs, too, like it's looking at
The folks that live here, and it's Debbie and Ted, started this very tour 2 years ago. They're the ones that convinced me to come up here and do it, and I do it for them every year. Illness has prevented them from helping, but they're still living there. Their house is very haunted. They have an elevator that goes up to the top levels in the main room here, and they've had, the most interesting thing is they'll leave recorders playing, and then when they come back, the recorders are calling for them and calling for their niece who stayed here for a little while, or talking amongst themselves about how loud the music is at the bar across the street. The ghosts talk a lot, and they've got it on recording. Also, and I'll show you a picture of it when we get back to Lindy's, when they first purchased it, Ted went up into the attic to take photographs to see if there was damage to the roof and what they needed to do. He opened up the hatch, stuck his arm in there, and just took a series of photographs. Come back down, there's an image of a face with a bandage across his head. At least I think it's a bandage across his head. I think it was a Civil War soldier who may have been injured during that attack. I don't know why I'm thinking Civil War, just something to do with the way the bandage is wrapped around his forehead. But I got that photo, and I'll show it to you when we get to Lindy's. Tour I did last year, I had a lady on here who worked at Simon's right over here. She's the one who told me that they all know about the little girl ghost who lives upstairs and likes to throw things and breaks coffee cups. And so the big one, though, and they've had coffee cups get missing. They find a bunch of them upstairs all at once. The little girl likes to play with the coffee cups. But the cook who was working here a few years ago had went to that place right across the street there and was going to open it up himself as another place. And apparently he took the coffee pot with him. And she said when she went over and said, "Do you have the coffee pot?" And he said, "It's right there," it exploded. It just shattered, turned off, no reason for it, hadn't been used yet. But I think the ghost water cup. It's called the Iron Horse. It is haunted. A lot of fun ghosts. They don't do much to the people, but they like to play with the owners. But the story she was telling me was about another bed and breakfast in town called, I believe it was the White Roses. It is no longer in existence. But said one night, about 10 o'clock, a lady came knocking on the door, asking for a room. Generally, she said, I don't rent rooms that late at night. But she did have one. And she said, I don't know, it's kind of late. And the lady said, there was two women. She said, please, we were in a bed and breakfast. We had to leave. We needed a room. Well, she now, okay, why do you have to leave? That got her wondering. So she talked to her. The room was set up with old-style cribs, dolls, quilts, all that kind of stuff. The story these women told the lady who owns the Iron Horse was there was this really creepy, ugly, scary-looking doll that they really just didn't like. It had blue eyes. So they put the doll in a crib and piled blankets on it so they wouldn't have to look at it. They went downstairs, talked to the owner, kind of had a little bite to eat, chatted for a while, went back upstairs. Now the doll is sitting on top of the quilts with the head pointed at the door. One eye was now brown and the other was blue. So they screamed, grabbed their bags, ran out, got in the car, said nothing to the owners, went straight to the Iron Horse and begged for a room, which she gave them the room after that story.